Hello, my name is Ruiz, student ID S00294253, and this is my assessment for EDFD546 Development and Learning. Constructivism is a learning theory where students are involved in their learning by actively participating in the discussion, making meaning of the knowledge created based from their previous experiences and pre-knowledge. This is a student-centered approach and related to other similar theories as activity theory, cognition theory, and situated learning, but somehow throughout the technological advancements throughout the years, the use of ICT was incorporated as a way of improving student learning, engagement in the classroom, and for teachers to be able to teach and lesson in a more interactive and fun way. Jonathan, 1997, Hernandez Serrano, 1999. Different from passive and traditional role of the teacher where the message is relayed to the students and is teacher-centered, the constructivism approach believes that the active role of the teacher is to construct the knowledge and not just transmit and receive passively. There are two important components of constructivism. One is that every individual brings his own cultural and prior knowledge in the information of his learning, and the other component is that learning is an active and continuous process. Narayan, 2013. In using the constructivism approach in teaching and learning, students are motivated, have a sense of ownership and responsibility in their learning, autonomous, creates problem-solving skills, develops creativity, and are more modified to suit individual needs. Clark, 2018. With the era of computerization and technology, the use of ICT in learning, specifically in my subject area, science, has been advantageous to both teachers and students. In the Australian curriculum, students are expected to maintain an ethical practice when using ICT, information and communication technology. They are expected to learn to use ICT in an effective and productive way where they can access, create, and communicate their ideas and information, problem solving, and collaboratively working in groups or individuals not just for their learning at school, but for them to be ready as a 21st century learner and student and worker. Digital technology that are accessible through students help them adjust and adapt in this fast-changing world of digital environment. Students are transformed into adapting how they learn, when they learn, and where they learn. The use of ICT in learning allows them to construct knowledge and relate to others. Students are empowered with their learning and they become better workers in the workplace. Whether it is about collecting data, interpreting and analyzing data, problem solving, creative expression, and accessing information while collaborating with others, ICT is an ongoing and evolving area in teaching and learning. In accessing ICT and learning, students are expected to recognize intellectual property, apply digital information security practices, apply personal security protocols, identify the impacts of ICT in society, Australian curriculum ICT capabilities. In using ICT in learning, students are to investigate with ICT, communicating with ICT, and creating with ICT. Subsequently, they are applying social and ethical protocols and practices when using ICT and managing and operating ICT. Explicit teaching is used to ensure that students apply the knowledge, skills, and behaviors that are involved in incorporating of ICT learning. ICT capability supports and enhances student learning across all areas of the curriculum. Applying social and ethical protocols and practices when using ICT, managing and operating ICT, investigating with ICT, communicating with ICT, creating with ICT, and the center of it all, ICT capability. The benefits and disadvantages of ICT in science. Using ICT in science, the students are more engaged in activities and tend to have longer attention spans as they are highly motivated with their learning. There are a wide range of resources that students can access in science using ICT. These scientific learnings go hand in hand with traditional ways of teaching science and enrich the students' learning. More often, there are multimedia resources that allow students to visually appreciate the lessons as well as manipulate complex models, three-dimensional images, and their movements to enrich the scientific concepts. With the use of ICT in science, the teacher can tailor suit technology according to the student an individual's needs or for a whole class approach. The lessons can be modified using ICT. Newton and Rogers. From a constructivism approach, ICT supports the engagement and participation of the students in shaping their knowledge. With ICT, the quality of data available to the students is up to date, and information gathered from the internet have more accurate and experimental readings and loggings. The use of the laptop also allows a fast and effective way of creating and doing repetitive tasks such as data collection or even graphing the data collected electronically so that more time can be devoted to analyzing scientific data that has been generated by the computer. Furthermore, when a physical lab is not available for experiment, ICT tasks can replace the traditional classroom and even extend the learning of the student beyond the teaching space and class time. Teaching and learning have been enhanced with the use of ICT. However, just like anything that is good, there are also disadvantages in using ICT in teaching and learning. For one, the use of technology can mean that answers are available for students through Google, and therefore, it might make them lazy as everything is just on the tip of their fingers. They may stop to critically think and rely heavily on ICT. In addition, the use of ICT gives more opportunities for students to play with their devices and do gaming whilst the teacher is teaching. Students can get distracted with many available apps in the internet. Care and expectations should be in place to maximize the use of ICT in learning. Examples of ICT in learning: the laptop slash iPad and Google Classroom. With the advancement of the internet, most students now at school use the laptop or iPad rather than using pen and paper to take notes. The introduction of laptop in the classroom has ushered in the virtual classroom, Google Classroom, Google Docs, and other software applications that support students' learning and, for some, a modification to cater to their specific needs. Diverse learners have different needs. For some, like me, who has a writing disability due to my fine motor skill development, the use of the laptop was a saving grace, especially when I started university. My handwriting is worse, and my hand gets tired with barely writing two paragraphs with pen. During my HSC, I was given extra time to write as I declined to use a reader writer because I was not used to one, and my trend of thought with a made HD might just be a disaster with using a reader writer. As the laptop becomes a way of life for primary to secondary and tertiary education, the Google Classroom becomes a virtual classroom which came in handy during the pandemic lockdown. Most schools which are laptop ready simply conducted their class via Zoom, and using the Google Classroom, all the classwork was posted, and even though those who are away can still complete the work. The teacher creates the classroom and invites the students to join virtually. Once students have all entered joining code, they can view the classwork assessment and upload their work in Google Classroom. The teacher can give digital feedback on the students' digital work. In science, the Google Classroom is also useful for collaborating and constructive learning, as the teacher can put his or her input into the students' individual virtual folders. One of the most used Google Classrooms is ED Education Perfect in science allows students to do a pretest before starting a new topic, and the results are generated automatically to give the teacher a springboard to allow them as much prior knowledge of the students have and much of they could bring into the lessons and discussions. Upon completion of the topic, the science teacher can also use Education Perfect by giving the students a summative quiz to gauge how much they have learned from the topic, as well as what they have retained in their learning. Kahoots is another app that involves an interactive quiz game that students enjoy and become really engaged. Kahoot can be used in doing a present pretest to find out the student's prior knowledge of topic, as a summative test after the topic, and to check for students' understanding of the topic. To create a Kahoot game, the teacher should select a topic and invite students to join by using a code. Once everyone has joined, the Kahoot starts. The student with the most correct answer wins the game. This app is an exciting way of teaching as a new topic or revising for the exam. The danger of being digital and using the laptop in a classroom. Students have a strong urge to play games while the lesson is on. They can also wander off to inappropriate sites that are not a part of the lesson itself. They tend to have so many windows open and are multitasking and being distracted from the specific lessons that the teacher is discussing. Another disadvantage is that students do not write and use pen and paper in taking notes. Research has shown that writing down notes during lessons contributes to higher retention and memory rather than just reading it. There is also that notion that the HSC is still handwritten. Unless the student is quadriplegic, then they can apply for special provisions of using the laptop during exams. In most cases, they will just be afforded a reader rather for special provisions. The use of ICT in learning stimulates the student interests. This is Kahoots. It's an interactive game which you can play with your students. You can search for different Kahoots that have been pre-made, or you can create your own Kahoots which relates more to the topic of your subject. For my teaching prac, I had Year 7 Science, and I created a Kahoots for them as a pre-test for the topic of space. It was 15 questions long, but I've shortened it just for this video, and I'll demonstrate how the Kahoots is like. So once you press start, you choose the classic mode for the game, and then it'll load into a loading screen. And then you'll get an access pin, which you can tell your students to join. And you want to instruct the students that they are to join with the appropriate name, and you can kick them if they have any inappropriate names. So using as an example, so say we have someone in the class called Monkey, and that's incorrect. So we get them to join with their appropriate name. We can kick them. That's another one. So again, we kick them, and we wait, and we instruct for the class to join with their appropriate names. There. So now that we have two students in the class, we can start the codes. Okay, and then you can press next, and then you'll see that there'll be a scoring ranking system, and in the end, there'll be a podium, and then with that podium, you can see how well the students have grasped the content. This is a great way for interacting with the classroom and creating a fun and safe learning environment. And if any of the students have gotten the answers wrong, you can take this time to expand on the question and make sure that they understand the content. So now that the Kahoots is over, this podium happens and shows them the top 3 in the class. Depending on how you feel, you can also award them merits or give them chocolate or some other form of lolly, just to give them positive feedback. Read Aloud app. The laptop has many features that a diverse learner might find useful. For example, there's an app used for those who struggle to read. It's called Read It Aloud. This Read Aloud app is very simple to activate and use. If a student has vision impairment, he can just highlight the passage and it'll be read aloud in the text. This is an excellent adjustment for those who struggle to read either cognitively or with a physical/medical vision impairment. In science, there are heavy texts that may require reading, and by using the Read Aloud app, the text will be read for the struggling reader. Having a Read Aloud app can sometimes be an easy way for them to get away from reading. Students may become complacent and not have enough practice of reading by chunking and simplification. Since this app is very handy, students may shy away from even trying to read by themselves. On my first teaching prac, I was assigned Year 7 Science, and we were studying the topic of space. I had compiled a series of terms and definitions into a Google Doc so that they may make reference to it and make a better understanding of the content. So I'll now demonstrate Read Aloud app.
Our solar system. Sun, center of our solar system. Planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
Dwarf planets: Pluto.
Comets, asteroids, meteoroids.
What is a star?
Our Sun is 4.5 billion years old and is at the center of our solar system. Our Sun is also a star.
The Sun's gravity holds our solar system together, keeping all planets huge and small in orbit around it. A star is a hot glowing ball of hydrogen and helium.
Huge ball of nuclear reactions.
Another ICT app is the voice-to-text app. Again, this software app is user-friendly, as the learner simply needs to activate the voice-to-text app, and he or she can talk to the microphone of the laptop, and the voice is transmitted and is created into a text on the screen. This is very useful for those diverse learners who struggle to write, who struggle with spelling, and those who are slow writers. The computer/laptop picks up the voice and converts it into a typewritten text. Again, in science, when performing an experiment, the student needs to record the results. Instead of writing the results, he or she could activate the voice-to-text app, and the computer will pick up your voice and convert it into the text. This can save time performing the experiment, or it can help diverse learners who cannot multitask, performing the experiment and recording the results at the same time. These learning tools, no matter how simple they are, assist many diverse students. Similar to the Read Aloud app, the voice-to-text app is an easy option of putting the student's thoughts into words by verbalizing it, and the computer compressing the information into readable text. Again, there are disadvantages in using this app. The student can become complacent and lazy to attempt to write on his own. The student will not be able to practice grammar, spelling, and punctuation literacy skills, as the app does all of this for the student. Voice-to-text captures the voice of the student and deciphers it. However, when a word is mispronounced or unclear, often the app cannot discriminate the correct word and may use a totally different word which changes the meaning of the sentence. This is a worksheet I assigned to my Year 7 science class during my teaching practical. We had a prac in the class determining calculating your mass and weight in space. I gave them the formula mass times gravity equals weight. So if you use a text-to-speech app, mass times gravity equals weight. New sentence. New paragraph. So going back to the worksheet, location, Earth, mass, and weight. No, it was still on and picking up what I was saying. So my mass on Earth is equal to 110. New paragraph. 110 times 1 equals 110. New paragraph. New paragraph. New paragraph. 110 times 0 equals 0. This is my mass in space, as I am weightless in space. After presenting several ICT tools that can be used for teaching and learning in creating a constructive teaching approach, we can conclude that in teaching, ICT and science or any other key learning area, that ICT skills learned should be in congruence to the topic or lesson being taught. It is part and parcel of the cross-curricular and ICT capabilities that are all woven into the curriculum. Subsequently, using ICT in learning outweighs the benefits over the challenges involved in using ICT in teaching and learning. It better prepares our students to become lifelong learners in this ever-changing world of digital environments. Thank you for listening to my video presentation.